This is ARN, the American Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engine!
Get ready, strap in, and hold on. We're getting the green starting right now. You're shifting gears on ARN with Alan Bailey.
Welcome on in, Gearheads. I'm Alan Bailey at Hey Alan Bailey. My, what a crazy weekend that we had. It's essentially Motorsports Christmas, and let's just get right on into it because there's a lot of stuff that happened. You had the Indianapolis 500, never disappoints, except this year it actually was a crazy finish. You have Monaco, which usually disappoints, but started out chaotic and got a little chaotic right there at the end. Strategy played a big factor, who knew? And then you look at NASCAR, the longest race of the year, next-gen car, what's it going to do on this new surface? Turns out, it's not so bad. It was actually probably the best Coke 600 we've seen in 10, 15 years, go figure. So if you missed it, you better watch the highlights. They're up on the YouTube right now. I suggest you go check those out because it actually was a pretty damn good race, all things considered. But let's go ahead and jump on into it with today's hot topics, powered by AmericanRacingNetwork.com, the Motorsports Authority. Denny Hamlin won his first Coke 600 after a double green-white checkered overtime that actually saw a big pileup at the white flag, which sent us into that double overtime. It was Toyota versus Toyota, and somehow Hamlin outbeat Kyle effing Busch for his first Coke 600. What is a crown jewel race and what makes a crown jewel race for NASCAR? We will talk about it in this episode. Sergio Perez won a very chaotic Monaco Grand Prix. Ferrari strategy cost Charles Leclerc again. We shall break it all down. And is that the last Monaco Grand Prix we're ever going to see? Ooh, you better stick around because we're going to break it on down. Marcus Ericsson wins the 2022 Indianapolis 500 in a wild two-lap shootout over Patty O'Ward. And NASCAR and Phoenix International Raceway announced this morning that they will host NASCAR Championship Weekend again in 2023, and that 2022's finale this November has officially sold out. It is standing room only for the infield and for hillside tickets as well, where you pay to sit on a hill in dirt, but careful, rattlesnake season. Good luck. Red Bull also announced that they have signed Sergio Perez to a contract extension through the 2024 season, signifying he's not going anywhere, and we might legitimately see a battle between the two Red Bulls for this championship if things continue to shape up the way they have. We will talk about it. Chris Buescher walked away uninjured after his car rolled over very dramatically down the front straightaway in the Coke 600. What caused the roll, and is there a significant issue with this next-gen car that caused this rollover? Speculation has run rampant. We will break it all down and hear what you have to say. Plus, Josh Berry won the NASCAR Xfinity race at Charlotte on Saturday by half a lap, basically, with only a handful of cars on the lead lap. Was it a snooze fest? We'll hear from you guys later on. You tell us what you think. Ross Chastain won the Charlotte truck race after the leaders crashed while battling for the lead, but Chastain was still there, and yes, it happened to be one of Chastain's teammates that was leading that wrecked. We will talk about this and young drivers and when you should send it and when you should play it smart. Chase Sexton won motocross round number 1 at Fox Raceway over the weekend as well, kicking off his season in the Outdoor Series with style. For these stories and more, log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com to keep up on all the latest motorsports news you need to know. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. At Hey Alan Bailey, I want you guys in on this conversation early today because we have a lot to talk about. I noticed that the chat is pretty thin so far, but that's fine because we actually had a feeling that this might happen. So we're actually going to go into the Twitter at Hey Alan Bailey because there is a lot of great stuff happening on Twitter as well, believe it or not. So we will talk about that, or we'll get into the Twitter stuff. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that's happened over the course of the last few hours, really. You look at it, F1 22/EA gave us the first look, gave us a brand new trailer, actually, and the first look at some, let's just say, interesting screenshots at what we're to expect with the F1 life. And yes, on this channel we do a lot of gaming news and a lot of gaming stuff, so of course I felt the need to share these with you. Here's a look at some of the information that came out today, some of the screenshots I should say. This is a look at F1 life, which essentially is an area of the new F1 22 game that allows players to give EA Sports money. You look at it, you can actually, and these photos are up on my Twitter account at HeyAlanBailey, but you look at it, you can actually change things like the furniture, like the rugs, the color scheme, the palette of this area. You have a trophy case, which I actually really dig. I'm all for the trophy case. But you could do things like change, the shirt and the player customization when you're out of your fire suit, which is kind of a big who cares, in my opinion. Not saying that it's necessarily something that we need in these games, but I wasn't going, give me more of this. I don't think anybody was anybody going, yes, give me those cool liveries and things. No, not a single person was. It's very odd to me, frankly, that they're trying to do this, and that this is the future that we're kind of stuck with, for lack of a better term. It's just, I don't know. It gives me kind of a bad feeling. But before we go any further, I want to talk about what's going on with the actual flip in NASCAR. The flip that everybody seems to be talking about right now is the wild flip that we saw in the closing laps Sunday in the Coke 600. You take a look at the footage, it was a very violent crash, and then all of a sudden the 17 flips. Now, here's what's interesting. People initially said, oh, it's a drainage system. No, it's not a drainage system that he caught his wheel on. Keep in mind, the entire front straightaway at Charlotte Motor Speedway is AstroTurf. It is a very hard, compact AstroTurf that is very smooth. It's very hard for a wheel or anything to catch in those. So it wasn't so much the speedway that caused this. It was actually a part failure, frankly, due to an accident. So a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon of, oh my gosh, this thing is deadly. It's killing people. No, it's not killing people. No, it's this car isn't deadly. You look at this replay, the 99 gets loose off the bumper of the 14. The 99 goes around. He spins in front of the field. Unfortunately, the 17 caught him and unfortunately hit wheel first into Suarez's wheel. That caused either the upper or the lower A-arm, people are speculating it's the upper A-arm, to basically snap on impact, which if you look at the replay, it does kind of fit that narrative that the 99 somehow just broke a component right there in the number 17 when it wrecked, and it was that tire that protruded that caused the thing to flip, and it flipped 3.5, 4 times. It landed on its roof. I gotta tell you that I believe that was the first time that we had a car land on its roof. When Harrison Burton flipped in Daytona in February, I believe he landed on all fours and simply got out. So honestly, I was a little nervous there for a hot second. Yes, the logic dictates flip the car back over and then get it going, but it still was nerve-wracking, to say the very least, to see that car flip and to see that issue continue to happen, really. So I was really, really, really nervous for him, truly. But it begs the question: do these cars need to be looked at? Is there something wrong with these cars that caused this incident to flip in this dramatic fashion, with this wheel essentially launching this car up and over? I don't think so, because there's no upper A-arm that's designed to take an impact at 180 miles an hour. I'm sorry, there's not. You can engineer the thing all day, every day, and it will never be able to withstand that kind of force. And frankly, I want it to give way. I want these cars to be able to bend, to buckle, to move, but to keep the cocoon where the driver is safe. And that's pretty much what this thing did. It's just that tire caught at a very high rate of speed. It launched the car very dramatically up and over, which caused it to flip. Chris Buescher got out, but he said a few interesting things. He said that hurt worse than the Daytona one, which Why is that? Does that mean that there's something wrong with the car? My initial thought was, oh my God, he's basically saying these cars are not as soft and don't absorb as much energy. But then I realized, no, Daytona has grass. It has dirt. It has things that are preventing the flip from being worse than it currently is. And what does this car have? Well, it has those same things. However, it also has a very interesting thing that Charlotte has that Daytona doesn't. No dirt. There's no dirt. So essentially when that car flips and it's rolling on concrete. It's rolling on cement. It's not rolling on the actual race surface. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. We are taking live questions. We are going to get into the Twitter account later, but I was honestly just grateful he walked away. I remember watching with my wife, and my wife was half paying attention because we'd been watching racing all day, and she was on her phone, and as soon as she saw that, she's screaming, "Oh my God, is he okay?" Because it looks violent. It is violent. ASMR safety crew got there very quickly and were able to make sure that he was okay. The window net came undone mid-flip, which was a little alarming. But, and again, we don't know if he lowered that thing. I think he honestly undid it to let the safety workers know I'm okay, because that is the universal sign that, hey, he is okay. And you can see the ASMR safety workers, saying to Suarez, hey, he's okay. And what are the odds that the 99 spins out and comes to a stop with the roof cam perfectly looking at that car flipping the way it did is just beyond me. But damn, it was good to see that 17 get righted over, and to Chris to legitimately walk out under his own power was kind of mind-blowing. Looking at the Coke 600 itself, oh my gosh, I mean, this was a race, y'all. This was a race. I mean, you look at everything that we've kind of seen in the last few months out of NASCAR this whole season. We saw some really good racing overall, but at the same time, it's been interesting because we've had some wonderful racing and we've had some pretty awful racing, and there's kind of been a gambit of all the above this season. But for the most part, we saw some phenomenal racing at the Coke 600, which is something I didn't think I would be saying anytime soon, truly, because early on in that thing, we did see a lot of aggression. That was kind of the name of the game in this race, was aggression. And yeah, Denny Hamlin winning the pole, starting on pole and then winning the race doesn't really tell the whole story, because we had a lot of comers, a lot of goers. We had a lot of guys who went to the back and came through the front. You look at the 5, they had pretty much everything that could have gone wrong went wrong with that car, and yet in the closing laps they were right there up at the front until the 14 sent it a little too hard on the 5 and just couldn't get the job done. And yeah, hats off to the 17 for being involved in not one but 2 wrecks on Sunday. So that's harsh. It's officially the longest race we've ever seen in the Cup Series, period. It was like 619-ish miles or something like that, 609 miles or something like that, something just a little above 600 miles, and the guy who's complaining about races being too long wins the race. I think that's hilarious, but Toyota definitely showed up in force. They were leading early on in stage number 1. They were all right there at the very end with Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin fighting for this one. Inevitably, you saw a lot of guys who were showing a lot of strength. A lot of people were talking about how Suarez, needs to step up his game, and I saw somebody complaining about how Suarez needs to get it together because compared to his teammate, he's not having a good year. But at the same time, he's up there actually leading laps and contending for a stage win, and he did get a stage win, but he passes Kyle Busch under green by himself. I mean, are you kidding me? The guy who people are saying, oh, I don't know about this guy, questionable at best, is up there passing the guy who has the most championships in NASCAR right now among active drivers. That's pretty darn cool. You saw that Chase Elliott kind of had another Mickey Mouse spin where he spun all by himself, and NASCAR just kind of threw the caution and didn't say anything about it. It's the second time this season that that's happened, and NASCAR hasn't really done anything. So I know all the Spingate, people are going, what the hell? How does he get away with Spingate? But, it just is what it is. I think NASCAR is always going to have its favorites in the Cup Series, and Elliott's clearly one of the favorites because he's one of the fan favorites. that's just NASCAR trying to keep the peace among its fans, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I can understand what they're trying to do. We saw some immense restarts, and the thing that kind of shocked me at the end of the night is that we did not actually see green flag pit stops. I didn't think that that was the case. I went back and kind of checked, and sure enough, yeah, no green flag pit stops, which was kind of a bummer. I'm not going to lie, because I like green flag pit stops. They're cool. But, it's still crazy. Rodney Childress tweeted out, I can't remember a Coke 600 in my 20 years of Cup racing that we've never had a green flag pit stop. I'm sure there have been multiple times, but I can't remember any. And again, this race was 619.5 miles long, officially NASCAR's longest Cup race in its history. No, that doesn't mean we need to keep making these races longer. I don't think that's what that is. I just think it's interesting that that's the case. And it sparks this question. Was it a good race? The Jeff Gluck Twitter poll that goes out every Monday for 24 hours came in with the result of 90... I'm looking for the exact number because I knew the exact number was significantly high. 90.6% said yes, it was a good race. It is the second highest of the season. 2022 already has 490% plus races, tied for the most of any year. The poll started in 2016. All 4 in 22 are on intermediates. It's the number 2 oval poll at Charlotte. The 2019 All-Star race came in at 90.8%. What's interesting is it's the number 2 most popular race so far. 91.5% said that Fontana was a better race, but just barely. And I actually agree with that. Fontana's a better race simply because we didn't have as many wrecked race cars. It wasn't as long, but it was condensed. And I was there, so I'm a little bit biased that Fontana's a better race than what we saw here at Charlotte. But I think that, the thing that this car does well is it races extremely well when you have a massive group of cars that can go 3, 4, 5 wide where there's options. When you have racing groups where there's only one groove around the place and there's no real options on passing, you don't get great racing. But with this car, when you have 3, 4 grooves like Fontana, like Charlotte, you actually can have great racing, and that's what we saw over the weekend. It has the second most votes ever for this poll, which I think is very interesting. Fontana has the most from this last year. I think it's really interesting because of all the racing classifications, you had 5 of the intermediates this season with an 86% or better, minus the Texas All-Star race, which only got about a 10%, I want to say, maybe a 9% approval. So I thought that was very interesting. Another interesting side note is that SRX announced that Camping World is returning as the title sponsor for its second season of the 2 years that the SRX have been around. They're kicking off their season in a few weeks, so make sure that you log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for more information on SRX as that gets ready to get kicked off here in 2022. Now, here is an interesting debate, an interesting question. What makes a NASCAR crown jewel event? Because you have the Daytona 500. That's obviously one of the crown jewels. You have the Southern 500, obviously. You have the Coke 600. And a lot of people, myself included, have kind of taken away Indianapolis as a crown jewel because we don't race on the big track anymore. We race on the road course. And I'll say, yeah, the Indianapolis road course isn't as prestigious as the big track, but it's still a race nevertheless in Indianapolis. So I don't know. It saddens me to say that, but yeah, we've lost that crown jewel race. I think that that's pretty much official. And keep this in mind, Denny Hamlin has 3 Daytona 500 victories, 3 Southern 500 victories, and now a Coke 600. He's hands down the greatest to do all of this without a championship. Mark Martin didn't win a Daytona 500 3 times. He didn't even win it once. And yeah, Martin has won the Southern 500 and the Coke 600. I don't believe he ever won at Indianapolis off the top of my head. So, Hamlin's definitely in that camp, and Hamlin was battling for a win, I think it was last year at Indianapolis on the road course. But it begs the question, what are NASCAR's championship crown, or what are the crown jewels for NASCAR these days? Obviously, Daytona, Southern 500, and the Coke 600, those three are kind of locked in at this point, but what makes a good crown jewel race past those three? A lot of people argue that the Bristol night race is up there, and I actually do agree on that. It's a very grueling race, that race, a very tough race, and I do think that that is a crown jewel race. No, I don't put Bristol Dirt into that category. I think that the Bristol night race on asphalt in the playoffs is a crown jewel race. I would argue that maybe even the final race of the year is a crown jewel, maybe, but I'm putting a huge asterisk on that one. I don't know, like, what races are prestigious to you guys? Let me know in the comments. But I'm tending to believe that we're down to 3, arguably 4, and a lot of people are kind of siding with that. This one's from Cassie Fambro on Twitter. We may not all realize it, but we are in the beginning of a really good renaissance for NASCAR, led by Denny Hamlin and Justin Marks. Yes, both of them are young team owners who, frankly, are bringing new business models and new ideas, fresh ideas, to keep up with the younger generation. And I think that ultimately that is great for NASCAR. It is something that we desperately need, that NASCAR desperately needs. Whether or not the old guard at NASCAR, who have been used to profits and used to keeping all the money in their big ass pile, agree? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how things shake out. But it's just, it's something that I think NASCAR has to realize, and they have to acknowledge that they have to change with the times. There's no question about that, because they haven't done a whole lot of changing lately, and that's problematic. Whether or not they decide to change things on their own, or whether or not they have to kind of be force-fed some change, to be determined, frankly. But I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Make sure that you leave a comment down below, and that you comment what you guys think on this, because I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say, because this is where things get interesting in this part of the season. So I'm very curious to what you guys have to say. With that being said, we are going to go back to the Twitter account. People are saying that they want the Roval replaced by another Charlotte Oval race. Hell no, I disagree. Keep the Roval in the fall and keep one Charlotte Oval race being the 600. Both configurations are awesome. That's from Jason948 on Twitter. I agree, Jason. I think that the Roval is cool for the playoffs because it's in Charlotte, NASCAR's hometown, so things can get a little crazy and hectic, and the hometown crowd's going to eat it up. But at the same time, the Coke 600 needs to be on the big track. That's, I think, nobody's questioned that, I don't think. I don't hope anyway, because that's not something that I'm like gung-ho on. Is this the greatest Coke 600 ever? I don't know. That's up to you, really. But let me put this comparison up there. Dale Turnhart on Twitter tweeted out, the 2005 Coca-Cola 600, the most chaotic 600 ever. Ends in spectacular fashion. The FedEx car loses. The FedEx car loses. The 18 car loses. 2022, and remember that in 05, it was Jimmy Johnson who passed Bobby Labonte in the number 18 FedEx Chevy on the high side to win by half a car length at the line. Crazy, crazy, crazy race. And I remember Bobby getting out and kicking the side of his car. If memory serves, he never went on to win another Cup race. And in 2022, Coke 600, most chaotic 600 ever. Ends in spectacular fashion. FedEx car wins. 18 car loses. Life is a simulation. It's not up for debate. Dale, I agree. It was a creepy comparison because you're 100% right. Very, very, very odd, honestly, but still very cool. And honestly, shout out to Ty Dillon in the 42. I remember watching him in the LA Clash thinking, oh my God, this guy has been sidelined for a few seasons in the Cup Series. He's coming back into the Cup Series. He's going to be wrecking a bunch of cars because he's too overexcited. And sure enough, he was the only lead lap car without an issue on Sunday. Are you kidding me? Everybody else was involved in something. It was just, honestly, just insane to me. Insane. The greatest day in motorsports has come to an end at the Coca-Cola 600. Was by far the best race of the day. Never thought I'd be able to say that, but NASCAR won the day by far. And that's Jay Cook on Twitter. Jay, I actually got to agree with you because Monaco doesn't ever have a good race. That's nothing against Monaco. That's nothing against F1. It's just that, you win the pole, chances are you're going to win the race. You're starting up on the podium, chances are you're going to finish on the podium. There's no middle ground there. And that's what we got. It was interesting with the rain at the beginning, and that was about it. It kind of got spread out, and pit strat played an important role when Checo decided to go from the wets to the intermediates is when he won that race. And Ferrari waiting that extra lap and waiting and keeping Leclerc out is what doomed them. Yes, they still had a decent finish, but it doesn't matter because Checo got the win. So that was interesting. The Indianapolis 500, normally it's a great spectacle. Do not get me wrong. It is heart-pounding. It is breathtakingly exciting, but it's never side-by-side craziness. We had a lot of that at the end of the day, in the end of the race, I should say, but we didn't see it consistently throughout the race. It was a little bit spread out. It was a lot of guys saving fuel and just doing what they could to survive that race. And Jimmy Johnson crashes out in the closing laps. That sucks for Jimmy. It really does. A lot of people pegged him to, contend for the win, or at least top 5, top 10. I had him in the top 10 at the very least. I thought he was going to finish arguably top 5, and he wasn't running up there. Yeah, he led some laps in the closing laps because he stayed out, and stretched that fuel strap, but that's not how you want to lead laps at Indianapolis in the 500. I'm just saying that's not how you do it, guys. That's not how you do it. But inevitably, it's all good. It was still cool for him to compete in his first Indy 500. What's he going to do next year? I don't know. He'll have to wait and see, but he was in one of the better cars, and he disappointed this year. The Coke 600, on the other hand, had pretty much exciting racing from start to finish, 4 wide, coming to the white for the win. Like, that's absolutely bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. And the fact that, it all happened right there at the end was just absolutely insane, sincerely. But as far as everything else was concerned, we had a lot of interesting beef on Saturday in particular. We had Jeb Burton confront Noah Gragson, and I don't remember what the exact phrase was, but it was something, I'll wreck the dog bleep out of you. I've never heard that quote ever. That if that's something from Tennessee or something where Jeb's from, let me know, but I've never heard the phrase, and I'll wreck the dog F out of you. What? Jeb Burton approaching Noah Gragson? Like, I tweeted it out, and I'm being dead serious. Can Jeb Burton keep up with Noah Gragson? Were they even on the same lap? I'm asking sincerely because Jeb is slow. Jeb does not have the talent that Noah has. I'll say it. Like, Fox given 0. Like, I'm being honest here. Like, he's not that good. He's not that fast. That's just kind of Jeb 101. And Noah said something to the effect of, not worth my time, unfocused guys that win races. Ouch. And also true. It was honestly craziness. And I sincerely added a new bucket list item to my bucket list over the weekend. Jeff Gluck tweeted out a picture of the track, and he noticed that there was a steak and shake trackside in Monaco. So yeah, Jeff Gluck actually looked it up. There's not a steak and shake knockoff restaurant. It is an actual steak and shake in Monaco, and it was on F1's Instagram account. So I have a new bucket list item. Eat at the Monaco steak and shake with Michael Cozy during a Grand Prix weekend. Who's down? Like, I sincerely, like, that to me, I'm down. Like, I'm very down for that. Let's go. Let's get sincerely to shake steak and shake during a Grand Prix weekend. Everybody else is eating steaks around us. We're just sitting there. Yes, I'm loving my steak and shake here at Monaco. And we're going to wear suits, too, because you got to wear suits at Monaco, right? Like, that's a thing. So, we're going to do it. A bit of drama on Friday night in the truck race. You had Ryan Pierce and Carson Huvar, who were kind of battling for the win at Charlotte, I should say. And Carson drove it in there deep, a little too deep, got up into Ryan. Ryan was pissed, arguably. And yeah, nobody won. Instead, Chastain got through for the victory, and Husavar actually came out and said, yeah, that was my fault. Yeah, I screwed up. And he was borderline crying after the race. And people in the truck series, people who watch the truck series religiously, all think Carson's going to be the next big thing. I think he has the potential. I don't think he's necessarily the guy to watch, because he's the guy who inevitably has issues. He steps on it himself. He causes his own issues. And that is just kind of 101 with what makes a bad racer. So young racers just need to chill out, really, to send it or to not send it. That's the question. Send it or not to send it. There we go. So, and the chat is open, by the way, if you're watching on twitch.tv/Hey Alan Bailey. We do live shows every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. That is noon Pacific on twitch.tv/Hey Alan Bailey. To send it or not to send it, that's the real question. And I don't know the answer to that, if I'm being blunt, in that situation. Based on how it ended up for Carson, bad idea to send it, because it obviously didn't work. And that's a shame. It really is. I don't think that he should have in that situation, because he took himself out. He took out the 17, and inevitably he handed the win over to his teammate. Good for his teammate, but his teammate's out there to win just for fun. He's the one who's contending for a Truck Series championship. He's the one who's trying to win his first race. And yeah, winning you're in, that's important. But I feel like we're at a point where there's only a handful of trucks that can honestly run in the top 5. We've talked about it on this program. The Truck Series has a talent issue, and that the kids who are racing in it are idiots. They honestly send it in there. Everybody from like 10th, 15th on back pretty much just sends it in there. There's no regard for anybody else on the racetrack. There's no room for anybody else. They just kind of plow into each other and run over each other and cause cautions left and right. That's why we don't get that many green flag pit stops in the Truck Series these days, because these guys just honestly shove it down there and they're going for broke every single lap, and it's a little ridiculous. Just a tiny little bit ridiculous. Tell you what, we're going to go ahead and we're going to step aside for a second. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the racing calendar and wrap everything up. You're listening to Shifting Gears on ARN and live on twitch.tv/Hey Alan Bailey. You can send a tweet to the channel at Hey Alan Bailey. You can also use the hashtag ARNRace if you want to get in on the program. Do not go anywhere. You're listening to Shifting Gears on ARN. Shifting Gears number 123 here on May 31st, 2022. I'm Alan Bailey at Hey Alan Bailey. You can get us on social media wherever you tweet. We're also live on twitch.tv/Hey Alan Bailey on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. That is noon Pacific. Twitch.tv/Hey Alan Bailey, where you can comment on the show live. Send comments in through Twitch live. It's absolutely free. You can also add Hey Alan Bailey on any social media account or use the hashtag ARNRace in order to get in on the program. But I do want to get back into some tweets from you guys. A lot of people are coming out talking about everything that's happening with racing at Phoenix for the finale. Now, what do I think about racing in Phoenix? What the hell are we doing in Phoenix? Sincerely, why does NASCAR decide, oh yes, I'm going to race in Phoenix for the finale? That racetrack, it's not bad. It's not great. It's somewhere in the middle. The facility is phenomenal because they actually upgraded it a few years ago, and that's exactly why NASCAR goes there for the finale at the end of the season, because they spent so much money upgrading that place. And for some reason, they think, oh, we're going to get all of our money back by selling the half tickets that we have a couple of years ago, except we're going to charge a whole lot more because it's the championship race, and we're going to make all of our money back and keep it here in Arizona. Yeah. Does Arizona need more money? I mean, it's basically a giant dirt pile. There's nothing there. And anybody who tells me, oh, Arizona, the Phoenix area, the Scottsdale area has become a destination, bullcrap. Nobody goes to Arizona. I went to Arizona for 10 months. I was in Phoenix, Arizona for 10 months when my wife was having her liver and kidney transplant, and when she was sick 2 weeks after, and they had to cut out a bunch of her, stomach, and she almost died. Like, we were there 10 months for that. And maybe I'm biased because of that, but Phoenix sucks. There's nothing there except for world-class doctors. Like, and no disrespect to anybody in Phoenix, but it's hot as hell. The racetrack itself is fine at best. The facility is great, yes, but guess what? Nobody wants to go to Phoenix. There's nothing in Phoenix. I sincerely think you ought to keep it in Miami, because Miami's at least a destination. It's world famous. You go to New York City, you go to Chicago, you go to Los Angeles to the Coliseum. I'm not saying move the championship race to the Coliseum. Please don't take me at that face value. But I'm saying that you have all these other destinations that you can go to that actually are destinations. NASCAR honestly did what they need to do at every single racetrack and upgraded their facility in Phoenix, and rightfully so. What they did to that racetrack is phenomenal. They need to do it to every other racetrack on the circuit. But NASCAR, as a company, doesn't want to invest in their facilities, because why the hell should they? In their minds, everything is fine, and fans go to see the racing. They don't care if you're crammed shoulder to shoulder in really bad seats, if you don't have Wi-Fi coverage, if you have to park an arm and a leg away, if you have to wait 20 minutes to use the restroom, if you have to wait 20 minutes to get a hot dog. They don't care. They really don't. And they need to, because we're at a point where we have billion-dollar with a B stadiums being built all over the country, in some cases in the exact same markets or extremely close to these racetracks, that offer a phenomenal game day, race day event experience. And you have NASCAR that doesn't really have any of that, and you have cell phone issues because NASCAR never invested in cell towers or even Wi-Fi at all of their facilities, and that's a big, big, big component of this. You want non-NASCAR fans, you want new NASCAR fans, younger NASCAR fans to be interested in racing, you got to make sure your internet works. That is such a huge part of it, because fans want to be able to go online and post where they're sitting. They want to be able to, do FaceTime calls, and they want to be able to text and call and chat with their friends and their family when they're at the races. They want to go live on Instagram and things like that. That's just how this generation works. That's where we are in 2022, and NASCAR still thinks it's 1999 and that cell phones are a fad. And they're not embracing new technology like they should. And that is extraordinarily disappointing. I sincerely hope that they can get past this stigma and that they can figure it out, because it's sincerely draining the life energy out of NASCAR. You go to the Indy 500. There was 300,000 people plus at that racetrack over the weekend, and guess what? Cell phones still worked. Everybody had full bars. You know why? Because IndyCar, Roger Penske decided, yeah, we're going to make this a priority. We're going to fix this. And they did. And guess what? It's no longer an issue. It was never an issue because they stayed ahead of it. They got proactive, and they invested money so that they could keep their fans happy. That's very important to that series. And it's growing. It's not as big as NASCAR. It's not as big as F1, but it is on an upward trend. And NASCAR is kind of stalled in the water. And NASCAR, like anything else in this world, you're either growing or you're dying. There's no middle ground. And right now, NASCAR is about to start dying if they don't act quickly. And I honestly don't think that they're going to, because NASCAR's filled with a bunch of old-timers who don't really see how to reach out to younger people. Even the younger people that they have on their staff are telling them, do this, do this, do this, and they're reluctant to do it. I think that the success of the Clash is kind of a little bit of an eye-opener, but the fact that NASCAR has yet to announce that we're going back to the Clash in Los Angeles at the Coliseum next year is a little bit telling. I think they want to. I just think they're honestly going, how do we save the $1.5 million that we spent making this racetrack work? And I haven't heard anything on that. I've got my ears to the ground on that, but so far, nothing good. Now, want to take a moment to actually look at the racing calendar because there is a lot of interesting stuff happening. Checking the racing calendar, Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, the NASCAR Truck Series heads to Gateway on FS1. Then Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, the NASCAR Xfinity Series heads to Portland for the first time on FS1 as well. Sunday, 12:30 p.m., the NASCAR Cup Series heads to Gateway on FS1. First time they've been back at Gateway in several years for the Cup Series. And the IndyCar Series heads to Detroit on USA at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Plus, you can watch the NHRA New England Nationals, which are in New Hampshire this weekend, with coverage on FS1 and Fox on Sunday after the Cup race. Make sure you check your local listings. So, one other thing I wanted to talk about before we got out of here, Monaco and F1. There have been kind of speculations because the deal with Formula One and Monaco event organizers expires at the end of this year. So we have officially run the last race at Monaco with the current deal. There is no new deal that's currently set to go. F1 has been supposedly, reportedly, coming to this race for the last few years for a very low fee, and apparently Monaco wants more money. Go figure. I don't blame them. And you look at Monaco. Does Monaco need F1 or does F1 need Monaco more? That's really the question here. And all signs are pointing to the fact that if we do get a new deal and we do see a Monaco Grand Prix in 2023, it could just be a one-year deal, if that. It could just be... we honestly could not race at Monaco in 2023, which is bonkers to me, but it is a very distinct possibility. Formula One is also reportedly trying to group together racetracks, keep them in the same region so that it helps to reduce the cost of travel for these teams and for F1 as a whole, moving from country to country. And with what Monaco's doing, where it is on the calendar this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, it's very hard. So we could see Monaco be moved to another weekend entirely or moved off the schedule completely. Nothing has actually come into fruition. Both sides are kind of playing chicken with each other, but honestly, I don't think F1 needs Monaco. I really don't. I think it's a cool race. It's very prestigious, but I don't think we're at a point where F1 is needed Monaco. I think that Monaco, likes to have F1 there because it brings a lot to that town. Literally, there was about 70,000, 75,000, give or take, people who flocked to Monaco for this Grand Prix, and guess what? It quadrupled the population of Monaco, which it always does every time we race there. But the people who did show up, who did come and sell out the place for the first time since the pandemic started, didn't really... Do they ever get their money's worth? In my opinion, no. There are better races to go to than Monaco. Yes, it's prestigious. Yes, it's a huge, major crown jewel event for Formula One, but there are other races that are more prestigious. The racetrack itself needs to be heavily modified. There are land acquisitions and things that are being built out in Monaco to supposedly help with the circuit, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. Yes, areas are being built out, and they're making it easier for fans and race officials and the people who live in Monaco to get around during a race weekend. But at the same time, they want to expand the track so that passing is a little easier in certain sectors, and it gives the drivers a little bit more opportunity to carry speed and hopefully dive bomb past these cars. Right now, honestly, one slow car can hold up the entire field in Monaco, and it is extremely boring when that happens. So whether or not that gets changed or not, I don't know. That's the big question. And will that change sometime in the near future? I don't know. I think that Monaco is playing chicken, and I think that they're going to lose. The race organizers of this race, are very stingy, and they don't like to work with F1. They don't like to shell out the money, and they need to, period. And you look at Formula One going to bigger destinations. They went to Miami for the first time in this year, and next winter, we're going to Las Vegas for the first time. Formula One is. That is a huge marquee event. That is a huge, huge, huge deal. That might be the biggest Grand Prix in the United States ever, period. That's kind of where we're looking at right now. And when you have, 3 races going to one country, you look at Monaco going, there are other places that want to give us money. There are other places that want to work with us, and we can fit a whole hell of a lot more people in Las Vegas than we can in Monaco. And I'm not saying it's going to be a similar crowd, but Miami and Monaco had a very similar crowd where it was the super rich, the elite that go to these races. But at the same time, is it something that Formula One wants to do? Do they want to stay in this business of racing in Monaco, or do they want to give it up? I don't know. It's hard to imagine not going to Monaco for a Grand Prix, but that's kind of the reality that we find ourselves in. If I had to put money on it, I think we might go back to Monaco once every 2 years. I'd be surprised if we're going there next year, but it honestly depends on how foolish the organizers of Monaco are going to be with Formula One and the FIA, and I think that they're being idiots right now. So I think that is going to probably continue, unfortunately. But then again, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Make sure that you mash that subscribe button if you guys haven't already, because there are a lot of cool stuff that we do on the channel. I sincerely want to get you guys involved. Make sure that you guys check us out on twitch.tv/HeyAlanBailey every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. That is noon Pacific, because we will be doing the show live. We're also going to have it out in audio form as well. Probably maybe going to be putting it up on YouTube as well. Not 100% sure on that, but you can definitely go listen on twitch.tv/HeyAlanBailey. Past archive shows will be put up there, as well as AmericanRacingNetwork.com, where you can definitely check out everything that we're doing on the channel as well. Thank you guys so much for listening to the first video accompanied version of the podcast. We're still working some stuff out. Yes, you can live chat. I know a lot of people are not watching live because it is the first one, but it is here if you guys want it. So you could see me and kind of race footage and stuff like that. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you mash that subscribe button wherever you're listening. Give us a 5-star review and leave us a comment as well. It helps the program to grow. And make sure that you log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for all the latest motorsports news that you need to know. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm going to be streaming again on Thursday on twitch.tv/HeyAlanBailey for the ARN Thursday Thunder Series, the NASCAR Heat 5 Series that we have kicked off. Make sure that you also check out the YouTube channel for more as well. For everybody here at the American Racing Network and Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you guys at the track. Bye now.
You've been listening to the American Racing Network, a turn for media company. This is ARN, the Motorsports Authority.